This
What is the?
we don't know what this is. This is potentially 1 of 1, or more likely 0 of 1 of us.
0 of 0.
Yeah, of us. We just need to talk about where Carbros is and where it's going, and I figured a healthy and transparent way to do that would be to record it in the podcast setting.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is not going to be, I'll just tell you right now, it's not going to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. So if you're here for a podcast, skip it. Like, this is not, it's not that. So just a heads up. But this is just going to be us like working out Carbros in a very like open way. Mm-hmm. So if you've been a fan of us for a long time and you're curious about like kind of the behind the scenes realities,
what greases the gear,
of just like what's going on and where we are, and on a higher level, just sort of like trying to turn a passion project potentially into something that makes money or not, dealing with that. That's what this episode is. So if this sees the light of day. So just from the very high level of like the economics of this, because I feel like it's kind of rare for people to be so open about it. People always wonder, like, what is it? How much do people make on YouTube and that kind of stuff? We have never paid ourselves from this. We have not yet made enough money to where we would take, I won't even say an income, any sort of profit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this has been from our point of view completely voluntary for 6 years straight. So there's no money. Mm-hmm. We have mostly not lost any money. Mm-hmm. Almost everything out of pocket has been covered by what we make. Mm-hmm. But
us and our families have seen
zero. At best, nothing has come out of pocket, mm-hmm. but more than likely, we've missed a bunch of expenses. Mm-hmm. So the best case scenario is that we're at 0, mm-hmm. but the reality is we're negative a little bit. And so with the sale of the Fieri and with the some Patreon saving and with the Jack Diamond's garage, we have about 13 grand in the bank. And so that is the highest that number's ever been. Mm-hmm. But it's not really going up fast enough at all for us to take an income out of it. It's just it trends up slowly because we're so efficient. But it's not nothing. It is enough money to like operate for sure. But it's not enough money where it's like, quit your jobs. And,
go full time.
Yeah, we could basically pay ourselves for about a week and a half. And then we would run out of money. And so we're kind of at this crossroads where, like, how much longer do we do something that was started for fun, but the landscape of doing this kind of thing for fun has sort of changed. Only partly because of our personal lives, and another part because just making content for the internet is just only gotten worse, I would say. Mm-hmm. And since we started, we were like a little bit late.
It changes, and it changes pretty much every time it changes further away from what we.
It's a graph that's like sawtoothing down, mm-hmm. like only, and so when we started, we had our very specific thing that we wanted to do. And at the time we were like fairly well cut out for what the internet was. It was workable for like the first year, maybe.
And then as time has gone on, the model has shifted away from what we started to want.
Yeah. I would say what we did if we had started maybe 3 years earlier or something, maybe. But yeah, the model is just not.
Or if we just shifted our model to whatever.
Yeah, which we
cranking out.
Yeah, which we did not want to do. I mean, I think the crossroads right now is there's 3 options. It's basically stop this, which would be unfortunate, but it is an option. and a very valid one at this point. Keep doing exactly what we're doing, which is the path we've been on for 6 years. And as we just said, it's kind of only getting worse, basically. The return that was sustaining us before was like, well, at the end of the day, this is getting out there.
Yeah.
and like, who cares? Because it's getting out there. And now it's so hard to even get out there because of a lot of
the oversaturation and
just a lot of issues that have not worked in our favor.
Yeah.
So keep doing what we're doing,
and the thing is, we've talked to the people that actually have reached success doing it, and
it's never promising.
And they theoretically they're like successful in every. Yeah, how an outsider would say like, "Oh man, you're doing this full time. You're huge," and they're just like, "This is not that fun." Like,
it's not. So
it's not a dream job.
The path we should have gone down for the kind of most common successful model doesn't lead somewhere happy. That is still a good decision not to have done that, because we would probably not be in a better place. Okay, so option 1 is it goes to 0. Option 2 is we keep doing what we're doing and slowly let the infection fester, basically. Or option 3 is we find some way to modify it where the future of it is money making enough to where it's not a full on burden. It's not a bigger burden than you would expect like a job to be, basically. And it's a better situation than whatever the current like successful model is. It's somewhat fun to do,
right?
And it can support you. I see those as like the 3 realistic outcomes, or the 4th outcome that we're not even considering is we turn it into something that is profitable in today's,
I think there's an option of just like dialing it back, not in terms of, well, I guess in terms of effort, but not in terms of output. Where we essentially just revert to like just pure like shit posting.
Yeah.
Like we will make videos here or there, but like we won't fucking treat them like we're working. Like we just fucking full on.
What would the output look like?
Like what we did
in the beginning,
5 years ago.
Yeah. So, like the Jack Diamond Garage project is a good like segue to talk about that. So the options with that are right now we were kind of.
I guess it should be, before we get to that, we had this other pretty well developed project that we worked on for quite a while, and we basically hit like a major roadblock.
Which one?
Police cops.
Oh yeah.
That like we had this very like cool I guess it's not over, but it was this idea that we are like this very funny, unique, original, fairly easy to make content, and there's pretty much no way to get it out as far as we know.
Yeah.
Because of copyright reasons.
Yeah, there are some things we could do basically if we were bigger. Maybe that's a way of
the idea is all there. It's just we do not in the form that we wanted to release it is not.
Yeah.
There's some workaround.
A very like beta version of that is on Patreon right now.
That's right.
We just sort of like finished. It's not a finished product, but it's like finished enough.
Yeah, it's like a proof of concept.
Yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's fine. It's still better than a lot of shit that gets posted on YouTube. But that lives on Patreon if you want to check it out. If you want to get in there and check it out and then dip or whatever. Just what I'm talking about. So there's things we could do. I mean, there's like hints of a future state like that could work, but we don't have the means to make those viable yet. But they could be viable. And so that's kind of where we were headed, is like we need to move upstream and like get somehow, lifted on the wings of a more like formidable sugar daddy you know, something ideally like a Netflix or an Amazon or something where it's like we're now being used as their sort of paintbrush, but they have the means to help us realize our dreams. And that is, that is possible, but that's like a difficult goal. That's a very nebulous goal to
because
sort of
it's heavily dependent on other people.
Yeah, it like hinges on a lot of other people. And so the reason I brought up Jack Diamond's Garage is because I feel like it's a pretty good example of the paths we could go. Like our options with that are do it the way we envisioned it, which is more complex than anything we've ever made before, and more thought out and planned, and like rigid might be a way to put it. Professional, and like closer to the way larger things are made, but not what has worked for us in the past. So different, but potentially better. And so that would be kind of the path we're on, but very slow. You know, the pandemic sort of really fucked that up, but still, that's kind of the path that we had set out on. The alternative is just refund the money. Just say, never mind. Like, that didn't work. I mean, we still have we haven't like blown the money on hookers. You know, it's like, that's all fine. And then there is an option where it's like we return the money and just make it shittier. You know, like we do a version that didn't need money and just kind of what you're saying, like get it done sort of thing. But I feel like there's a way. I mean, maybe I'm showing my bias with like, here's the 3 options. You know, there's
if you look at like what's funny right now, it's fucking like TikTok videos. Yeah. And like those like get like billions of views and they fucking cost like presumably nothing.
Yeah, they're made in like a half hour.
Yeah. A day at most.
Yeah. And so there might be it's not fair to say we don't want to do that because maybe there's a way to do it. I mean, I think that's what you're saying is like, we just make the content way easier to produce.
Yeah, we just like strip it down.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be bad. Just
because we basically the script or the whatever outline for screenplay, whatever you want to call it, is fairly complete at this point.
Yeah, I would say it's more complete than anything we've ever shot before.
Yeah, right. And on the other hand, that might almost be like a downside because it's like okay, then there's this character and like this guy is this.
Right. It's getting complex, which is what we set out for. But then we're running into the question of, is this what we want it to be?
And can we? And like how? And do we have the means to realize it as we've imagined it the first time?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident we could. I just think there's no way to do it without a lot of pain. But we can walk through that valley for sure. I feel if we could pull off Monterey, like that is so much harder than anything else.
Monterey, at least we had a very specific it had to be done in this.
The vision was there.
It was coming, and like
we were basically like on a river flowing through rapids. It was just like this is happening, and so we made it happen.
And I guess the other part, which I don't know if it's just us being bitter, is the fact that we've, I guess, on our own accord, have been basically blacklisted from so it's like part of it just makes it that much harder to
the method that pretty much the only method you can use to elevate yourself and your audience we've been cut out from. You know, we feel unfairly, but whatever, you know, that is what it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it is a factor here. I think that's covered by saying the factors over the years of like what this needs to be. But the thing is, I mean, the sort of, maybe it's, we haven't spoken it so far, is we really feel like there's an audience here. There's clearly an audience.
Sure.
I mean, it's like there's a use for this. We just haven't cracked the code for how to make it work yet. And I remember when we first started this in 2015, it's like we had made some videos in like 2003, and then we walked away for 12 years or something. And then when we came back in 2015, I remember having this conversation where we were like, man, how has no one else tried to do this yet? It was like we felt like we found gold and no one else has yet.
Because prior to even starting it, we'd been talking about it for at least 5 years.
Those 13 years were like peppered with, it's this like long runway to like, okay, finally it hit this climax and we did it. And it was like, and it took off, and rightly so, bias speaking, but it's like, yeah, there's still not really anything like that. But then the question becomes, like, oh, it hasn't been followed because it doesn't work. But I will say it's not that the audience isn't there. It's just a failing to, for as like democratized as people like to pretend the internet is for like sharing information to the masses,
doing whatever you want.
Yeah, it's kind of, you can, but it's kind of become not. It's kind of turned back into like you need to appease some gatekeepers,
some algorithms.
Yeah, the AI, the like dude in an office has been replaced by like some AI on YouTube or something. And you can get around it. It's like there are ways to get around it, but it requires manpower that as of yet we don't have, and just like effort that we don't have. And so the other part about this, you can tell me if we should cut this or not, but it's like your full-time employment is in this industry also.
Right.
And so the part of the future path for turning this around would need to be ultimately paying you enough that like you're kind of the.
Well, I don't really care about the pay as much as just for the time, I guess. Yeah, because it's like the time.
You only have so much money or so much time in your day,
and I guess especially in my case, it feels more.
Yeah,
it can feel more like extra work.
Yeah, it's extracurricular. It's like we're asking you to stay after it's school, basically. Where John and I are, it's similar in that we need to be compensated for our time as well. But our work is not this. And so there's extra layer.
It feels less.
Yeah. And we have chosen to not have children. Which is also a factor.
And that's probably part of the reason why I always feel like when we're like doing something, it's like, okay, we need to plan this out and this needs to be scripted. It's like, this just feels like fucking work.
It's a job.
To me.
It feels like a job.
It is a job.
And so the crossroads it's like, okay, this was started as like
hanging out with friends.
It basically felt like hanging out. And this is as far as hanging out gets you. It's like we've had some success for sure. And if we ended it today, it would live on forever as like something I'd be pretty proud of. The things that we've output, I have no shame in most of it. I would say like 85% of what we created stands up, and that's pretty damn high. Honestly, it's like almost everything we made you could replay and like find me another creator's content.
That you could watch everything.
Yeah, that you could go back and revisit and not care about. Maybe I'm patting myself on the back pretty hard. I'm sending out the parade, but I don't know. And so I feel personally like I guess where I am is the continue what we're doing thing. Like this, it probably needs to stop.
Yeah,
I feel like we just can't keep doing this as much as I still do enjoy it, and I know the audience likes it, and it's basically the audience that has kept us going. I think like if there wasn't an audience there who like got this, we would have stopped. But doing what we're doing, something needs to change. It feels like we've hit a point where it's like everything is weird right now, and like if this doesn't also adapt to the weirdness, that would be a miss. But maybe it's I don't know if sentimental is the right word, but I also don't want to stop.
No.
Like I feel like we've built something that
I think we just need to like find our essence.
Yeah.
Like our go back to the roots, I think.
Well, okay, so here are some things
I think the thing is because people always say like, you want to constantly evolve.
Yeah, sure.
But like if the world that you're evolving into sucks, then it's like, fuck it.
Well, we don't want to, yeah. And so I fully believe in that, but I also believe in you should be pulled forward by things that feel good. Mm-hmm. It should feel right the whole time. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it should be moving in toward a vision of a future where it's like you're pretty excited about. Mm-hmm. And that is not just that's not money. That, to your point, is like, it's not money. That would be nice, but this, especially, like, correct me if I'm wrong, the back padding is about to continue, but this is pretty close to like a band or an art project, because there's a big creative element in it where a lot of creators are not really that. It's like it's a formula and they're kind of cranking on it, and it's not to say there's anything wrong with that.
That's how most of them.
That's how most of them do it.
The professional.
Yeah, it's like they've made that work, and there's a lot of success there.
Well, it's like, like you're making YouTube videos. Like, okay, YouTube needs videos to be 12 minutes long. Okay, we're doing 12
minutes. It's like, here's what it is. Yeah. And it's like, that is successful. That is successful. But for us, it is really difficult to, just anybody will agree with this. When you're doing something creative, if it's not fun, there's probably no worse feeling than being forced to make art. Using your gift in a way that doesn't feel good is like the quickest way to feel like you're dying inside, basically. So that's not a good feeling. And so it has to be on some level enjoyable. And that's kind of why we haven't gone in that other direction, because it's like, well, shit, this is better than
going right into the meat grind.
Yeah, this is better than that. It truly is,
because it's like a miserable grind.
Yeah, it's so clearly miserable, but there's money in it, and it's like, that's fine. And if that's your, I'm not.
I think if that's your day job, then that's your day job.
Well, I think it would be different if we were like in our early 20s or something.
Yeah, and it's like, oh shit, we could make a
and it was like
money,
and it was like the alternative is this, or like go get a job.
Yeah, it's like we have careers. Like they're way more promising than this.
Right.
Like, and so that's why I really feel like it's kind of like a band. It's like, come over for practice. It's like, that can't not be fun, because creativity, kind of like the precursor to it, is like feeling inspired, and that really doesn't happen when you're fucking dragging. And it can work, but any professional artist is aware that it can work. You can force yourself to do it, but this is, like we said, this isn't our job, and so it kind of begs the question of why would we do that, and we haven't yet. So I feel like the path forward, whatever it is, we need to open up more revenue streams, because begging people for donations at this point, it doesn't feel super good to me, because we're not really good at giving them enough. I mean, maybe they're happy or not.
If the product, doesn't.
But it's like,
I guess it's one thing if they're like, oh, I like these guys and I want to support them, versus like, I feel like I'm getting my money's worth.
Right. Yeah.
Out of
there's a line in there that we're trying to find. But this, like, there's a curve of our revenue. You can chart it, and we just need to we need to do a couple tweaks to make it go up, because at the same time, this could build pretty quickly. If we sort of tuned up the machine. It's not unrealistic to, maybe not yet pay ourselves, but to hire some people like here and there, or outsource labor or something, to where, okay, now it's growing. Now it's feeling a little bit better. This is actually becoming something big. It's a small business at that point. It just happens to be one that, like, we're excited about seeing grow. But it would, I don't know if it would look different than the current way people do things or what, but something needs to change here revenue wise, because it's basically 100% Patreon at this point, which we love, thank you guys. It's like,
join our Patreon.
Join our Patreon. I mean, Patreon's fine, but it's the way that we have been able to support that is like, those are clearly just the
hardcore,
the diehard fans, which, you know, is kind of the core of any project like this. But we're only surviving on the diehard fans at this point, and growing the fan base in a way that feels good to us is probably the path forward. And so I guess brainstorming ways for how to do that, because just putting stuff on YouTube is maybe not the right way to do it. Unless
it's probably fine for some of it.
I mean, unless we do what you're doing, and it's just like video content is scaled way back in.
Well, I think it's not necessarily
apparent quality.
Yeah, it's not scaled back in output, just what is behind the output.
The like rate of turnover goes way up,
right?
But the humor doesn't need to.
Theoretically, the humor stays the same.
It's kind of a question.
It's a TikTok video versus a video with a bunch of fucking like weird special effects.
Right. Internet culture is just, the turnover rate is so fast that when we launch a video, we launch it into this fast moving stream, and we're throwing a big rock instead of a little rock, but it's
still being carried away at the same speed.
It's not big enough to stop the flow.
I mean,
if
you just think about all the fucking ridiculousness and hilarious stuff that was in the Monterey video. Like, imagine just like cutting you rolling up to the quail into like a 40-second fucking like TikTok or whatever
it is, but turning the Monterey video into 40 outputs,
right?
Instead of one that made like $300 or something, you know, and like got us
just using it identifies.
Like any of that stuff, granularizing it, because I feel like in some ways, here in the back of my mind, it was like, okay, Fieri verse 918. This is the video that's going to change something. Like when we did that, I was like, we are about to go prime time, people. It's like buckle up, because the rocket's about to launch.
You're about to see something.
Yeah. And then the next one was or maybe it was before it, but Gymkhana, Gimkhana. I was like, buckle up, because no one's done it. You haven't seen anything like this before, and it's gonna be like, we're gonna change our identities from the fame on this. And then kind of the final straw was the Fieri Doc plus Jay Leno, and pouring that on the fire and seeing the flame not change has kind of confirmed. I mean, again, I'm very proud of it.
We reached every
it's like how much better does it need to get, at this point? And so it's not a question of quality. It's the way that we're going about it. It's like something needs to change.
It's the method of output.
Yes, the method. It's the channels we're using. Something, because Carbros has never had a shortage of ideas. Basically, we've kind of never like run out.
I guess it should be said that we're like theoretically we're pretty fucking old.
For the market?
I mean, like none of us have any idea how to use TikTok.
Correct.
For example. And we all think it's, I'm not saying it's hard.
We all think it's dumb.
We all think it's dumb. And like, it's like for us, Carbros run TikTok.
Sure.
Like that's probably like theoretically that's the way.
I mean, just social media in general, we don't give a fuck.
We don't care. We're like the old guys yelling at kids on our lawn. But that's the kind of stuff that like can be fixed.
Right.
And you can just hire someone. To, it's like,
or we just fucking adapt if we want to.
Or we adapt. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Well, computers aren't scary to us. This isn't like keep mailing in for our newsletter. It's like that's fine. We don't use it.
Right.
And so it wasn't immediately apparent to us to do it.
Jump on it,
Basically, And who knows if it's TikTok or not.
Whatever it is,
Whatever it is, we're not already doing it. Where a lot of the output we've done so far, we kind of are already doing.
Or it's like everyone else is doing all this other stuff. And we're like, wait till people see this 12-minute video.
But at the same time, it was, here's the thing. Okay. The Monterey video was not shared as much as it should have been, but let's assume it got 1 million views instead of like 200,000. I don't think anything would have changed, really.
Not
it's
really.
like it would have just been more viewed.
Yeah.
But it was still, for being basically posted nowhere, it's still pretty damn successful. And like a lot of people who mattered saw it.
Right.
You know, it's like it still got out there. And so if you view that as like, that was a success, that's actually what success looks like.
Yeah, I would say that's absolutely a success.
Yeah, it's like we did it and it turned out good. We were happy with it, and everyone who saw. I mean, the comments on that video are like
that was
ridiculous.
probably just us like bouncing off the ceiling.
Yeah, that was the
whatever.
ceiling.
Yeah,
That was. But that's what I mean. That's my point. Is like we found the ceiling where before I was like, shouldn't this have done something? And now I'm like, okay.
Shouldn't the president be calling it?
Okay, yeah. If we're not like shaking hands with Obama because of that, like it's like, okay, well then we found it. We found the ceiling. We smushed up against it, and so now we have to admit to it. There's no more like, come on, let's just do it a little better.
Then we'll hit that undiscovered.
Yeah, there's no vein of gold, and so we found it. You know, it's like we found that reality, I would say. And so I don't know if we're gonna solve it now. Probably not. But maybe that's. Are we in agreement that we're open to trying?
Sure.
Yeah.
Tweaking shit. Okay, because. The vision I see.
Well, one thing that I noticed, because I've started to do my own podcast, not anything because just like my main thing, just like it's a popular
direction.
format.
Sure.
But anyway, it's like the podcast that I've been doing is just all remote, and like that's one thing that we could like we did that a little bit before, but like that's one thing that we could do that would theoretically, like we could go back to a once a week podcast very easily
and collab. And do remote,
and just it would all the time that you spend driving here, we spend working on this, could all be used for making shitty videos.
I
just mean like we could shift the time spent.
Yeah, but isn't that what we try? Isn't that why we did remote to begin with? Wasn't that the argument for it?
Kind of, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but
we didn't give it enough of a go.
I just mean we could probably get back to the once a week thing if we wanted.
Sure,
If we could make enough content, or enough topics, because that was the issue we were.
I'll make them shorter or something.
Yeah,
right.
6-minute podcast.
You could do 25 minutes a week pretty easily.
I could do 25 minutes on Hyundai once a week.
It's
easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah. Well, okay. So
I just mean that's a possibility, just to change it up.
Here's an
freshen it up,
option. Yeah.
Because I would, it's hard to say what the viewer would think. Because I would probably, as a viewer, I'd probably rather have 30 minutes once a week than an hour and 20 minutes once a month.
Yeah, because basically our audience right now, I would guess, is like you're working on something or you're driving or so. You know, it's just long form. Right. It's like those things exist.
I mean, there are podcasts that I listen to that come out once a month, but they're usually like 3.5 hours long.
Right.
Oh, really?
Like they're like pretty heavy.
Wow. Yeah, and there's hour-long once-a-week ones, but they are big enough to have guests rolling through.
Right. Where each one is different.
Or they just talk about news and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too.
sure.
Right,
They're just like, we have to, even the podcast, we do cover news.
Some topical stuff.
Yeah,
but often by the time we get to it, it's like a month.
Yeah, you're not coming to us for the like
breaking
cutting
news.
edge.
Yeah.
And so this is like 80-20 on. It still takes some like thinking and creating,
Or just witnessing stuff.
or just like being in the mix. There's only so fast that we can come up with that stuff. That's why we slowed down, because the early stuff was like, remember the time?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it was because we would record them all in person, like 3 or 4 in a day.
Yeah, and that was pretty
and we would
brutal.
just be like wiped.
Yeah, but I mean, there was more content back then because it was like stories and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's less. We've cut.
Now we're just like, we're not that old. We only went to high school once, and we only witnessed so many T-tops flying off. So that was part of it. But yeah, there are a number of ways. So I guess maybe the output of this is,
I guess what we want to do is we want to keep the loyal fans happy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, make them happier.
yeah.
And while at the same time, trying to reorganize to tap into the ever changing.
It feels to me like the kind of cheat we did was that we don't really think about what the fans will want. We're just entertaining ourselves.
Right.
And we've just been lucky enough to attract like-minded people. So the barometer, the canary in the room is like, if we're not laughing at it, like that is a pretty good sign. And so just to sort of like reiterate what you just said, it's like we want to do something where we still think it's funny.
Sure.
Or even beyond what it feels like to make it, the output is.
Yeah, we don't just want to grind out content. We want to we want to just reform.
We don't want to give in to the man.
Right.
Yeah.
The algorithms.
Right.
Big tech.
So how do we pivot this in a direction that broadens the audience, keeps the content of the same like humor caliber, and potentially, if not necessarily, increases the revenue streams? Like, we've batted around merchandise a lot, and I think that's still viable because you're getting something for your money. You know, it's not just like
physical, something you can hold.
Yeah, we're selling something. And I don't know, we have good ideas. That's not that hard. You know, that's just an example of like you plant a bunch of different seeds and like get them all going, and neither, you know, need to rely on any of them. But right now it's basically Patreon and YouTube. And YouTube is like, I mean, we're not active enough on there to really make this number matter, but like $50 a month maybe. And Patreon's like $3.30, and it probably costs us about $200-300 a month, plus or minus.
Sure.
Just like cruising altitude
to what we've been at
to run this thing. Yeah. And so the money is like basically not outpacing inflation. I mean, even before inflation, even before the money printer started going, by 2018 standards or whatever, we still weren't. Now we're losing 50% per day. We take Bitcoin, people. You can donate. Yeah. So then I guess I wanted to just talk about this in person, but I feel like the output is, let's brainstorm some way, you know, some potential like things that feel good that can like get us there. Cause I don't know. I mean, the vision I see is you were able to steal you away from your work without increasing your total amount of work.
Sure.
Like that's the goal. And that just
I guess my thing is if it doesn't feel like work, I don't give a shit. Like I'll do it as much as I want because it's fun. But if like once it starts feeling like work, then like
I feel like it's always this is the maximum amount of not feeling like work it's going to be. And if we want to make you work more, that has to be traded for money.
Sure.
and
for all of us, really. Man.
Well, sure, but that's why I mean I think you're a special case because you're the one who's going to feel it before we will. You're already on the edge of I don't want to do more of this type of work, where John and I have a bit more bandwidth, you know, not a ton. We're busy at our jobs, but that I feel like we all need to be treated the same, but you're kind of the target audience where it's like you're already maxed out on this type of work. And so how do we angle this in a way to start to supplement that so that it is still, because, you know, the ultimate, I don't know if we'll ever get there, but ultimate fantasy is it's as fun as it is and it pays you full time.
Sure.
You know, it's like, then you're not answering to anyone kind of thing. And it pays more, as much or more than you were making before. But it's this thing. I don't know if we'll get there, but like that should be the sort of virtuous goal, is that it's not this, you're not donating basically pain.
Sure.
You're not trading.
Sure. But I mean, John probably puts in as much work as I do. I mean, he edits and does all the technical stuff.
We all do. We all do a lot of work, but the work I do, this is a different flavor of the work I do. It's in the same ballpark, but it's not the same flavor.
Right. You're
and so,
sort of like a vacation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's work for all of us, but you're going to be the most intolerant to it because your taste buds are already saturated.
Once it starts feeling like work.
Where we have a little bit more bandwidth.
And I feel like you just, you know, now that you have a family, like
that too.
You probably have guilt, like, you know, if you're taking away family time from your wife and
well,
kids.
I don't mind it if it's just like us fucking hanging out.
I know.
Like, go and hang out with the guys.
That's what I mean. But like
we're
it's
like, all right, now we got to work on this.
I just mean like,
wait,
you do a full day
for?
of your job, and then your wife comes home, and you're like, well, I got to work on this script. Can you watch the kids?
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. I think. I mean, it feels like we're all pretty much maxed out. This is what it is. We are maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we've got this hidden. It's been 6 years. There's no hidden reserve. like here, it's like we've been. This is the output you get at this level, and so how do we? I don't know. How do we move in that direction? Like that feels like the North Star that we may not hit, but it's like a pretty good guiding light. Like, all right, at the end of the day, how do we like dip into some of that success equation without losing the stuff that makes us feel good? And this is kind of the crossroads that started this podcast.
Sure.
Where we were like, we're not outputting anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's worked. It's like the Patreon has grown.
Yeah.
People are we're going 6 months to a year without any output.
Yeah.
Which like
On YouTube.
Well, anything.
That's true.
I mean, anything. All we had was videos. And now at least it's like, we're still alive.
Right, yeah.
It's like
checking in with us.
Yeah,
come hang out with us.
This is not, people are always like, make more videos. It's like, yeah, they're way better. The videos are hilarious, but we can't, we need to find a way to increase that. We hear you. We want it. And so like, what are the ways to get us closer to that goal is kind of the output to that I'm seeing. So,
I mean, going remote for the podcast, we could try it. I mean, that new software that Garrett uses,
yeah, that
pretty
makes
awesome. It makes it pretty awesome.
That has only gotten better because of the last year's
like
reality.
the way we did it before was like kind of a MacGyver way of fucking doing remote podcasts, whereas now there's software out there that's dedicated for it, and it makes it way easier, and the quality is about the same. I mean, we'll just have to get used to looking at each other over webcams rather than across a table.
We've already done it.
Yeah.
I think, I don't think that would limit our in-person working on whatever. It would just like totally shift it away from like, okay, we're going to sit down and talk about cars in person for an hour or whatever.
Yeah. There's also like, I feel like in things like this, there is sort of an inflection point that we have not hit, but we're close to, where I don't think the growth is linear. Where it's like, if we do double the amount of output, we'll get double the revenue.
No, definitely not.
I think especially at these levels, if we could double the amount of output, or in our case, like triple it, which is still pretty low, it could spread faster than that. Where it's like, now you're reaching more people. The amount of people who are willing to support us at a podcast and a once every 6 months to a year video is a thin band versus the amount of people who are willing to support us at, twice that amount of content. Right. It's a much thicker amount of people potentially. So I don't know. All right.
Well, but I also think then like another way we could try to do it is we've already, or you guys have mostly written Jack Diamond's Garage, and taking that and splitting it up into like sections that we could do ourselves without like a scene, like a certain scene, just like we're going to try to do this one scene or like a couple scenes in a weekend, film it ourselves, and then upload just those to Patreon, and then once it's all complete, take the whole package and upload it to YouTube. But that way it's like we're giving stuff to our Patrons
and to anyone that supported
and that's what I mean, because I feel like
you're in the mix more.
I just feel like I feel bad for the Patreon people.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a hardcore audience.
And we don't really give them anything. At least I feel like anything extra.
Police cops.
Well, that's true. That was like once a year.
I know. That's what I mean. This is not sustainable. This is not fair.
But it's like, that's why it's like it's also taking that huge project, which is Jack Diamond's Garage, and dividing it up into bite-sized sections that we just try to work on a little bit at a time, rather than like trying to plan this big production where we have to hire a bunch of crew and try to get it done in a timely fashion, but that way we're still putting out content.
And it feels like bite-sizing things. In general.
Going back to like what we're comfortable doing. Like that's how we used to do videos. And so we're kind of taking the long format and cutting it up into scenes at a time.
And I remember like whenever we work on those, it would feel like we would always be tired, but like it never felt like, oh, another day at the
Yeah.
job.
No,
like,
I know, yeah.
like we're all right. So today we're planning this out and we're shooting this.
Right.
Okay, you know, like we fucking worked on it for like 12 hours straight, and it was like, God, I can't wait to fucking see it when
Yeah,
it's done.
can't wait to get home and edit it and stuff like that. Yeah.
I can't wait to see how funny this looked on screen.
Right.
Yeah, we need to find the balance between things that need to be planned ahead of time, and things that probably shouldn't.
Because I'm sure there are parts of Jack Diamonds with like we are going to need extras and a crew.
Yeah,
and
whatever
like,
it is.
And like, you know, we save those for.
Yeah.
You know, we try to do everything we can ourselves and then save the hiring people and getting a production crew for the big stuff.
Previous movies, early on movies, were made in like a day of shooting. Kind of like what you're saying. It's like, it was a long day, but it's like a day or two. Maybe.
Yeah.
And those are like maximum pressure and stress, but fastest output. Because it's basically like, all right, we would literally like drive to the location and then figure out like the content.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd have like 10% of it pre-planned. And so the reaction to that has been plan everything.
Right.
Which is like the opposite. Now it's like, well, this isn't fun. This isn't the same kind of fun. But it theoretically removes all that like on the scene
wasted time
pressure. Yeah. But
if that is fun, I don't remember feeling any pressure like making the original. I remember feeling tired, but I don't remember feeling like, fuck, we got to get this done. Like,
I feel like
I remember being like feeling just uncertainty of like, fuck, we need to figure out an ending.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And we're just like, we need to figure it out today because we don't want to fucking waste another weekend.
Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't until a little bit later.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I feel like that stuff was not sustainable for me. The amount of pressure I felt on Blaze to be on camera in an uncomfortable character and be like writing it at the time. That was like the straw that broke me. It's like I can't do this. But the fully locked down version is also not doable because by the time we do it, we're not even like excited to do it. And the other thing is something that like kind of tweaked me. I had just listened to an interview a couple months ago. I can't remember who, but it was somebody interviewing a filmmaker.
Sup filmmaker.
Yeah, sup filmmaker. And they were talking about, they were adapting something from a book or something. And they were talking about the process of making a film and how the writer of the script is often not on set.
Sure.
They write it and then they give it and then they're kind of gone.
Right.
And almost every time making a movie, they'll be like, this doesn't work. It's sort of like
halts production.
No, what he was saying is anyone within earshot starts pitching ideas for like what to the dialogue or whatever.
What to change.
How to patch it up.
And so he was basically saying that doesn't happen with like the director of photography. People don't start giving input on like how to shoot it.
Yeah.
Even if he needs to change something. Yeah, they don't start talking about lenses. But with writing specifically, he was saying very frequently, if not always, you hit things where this doesn't sound right as I'm saying it. And then it's like, who's got an idea?
Right.
And so it just sort of demystified the like lockdown nature of
this is the script.
Yeah, where it's like even at the highest end, that doesn't happen.
Right.
And so we need to like scale it back and find a balance of like, look, we need to sort of know what's going to happen in this scene. I think but the dialogue doesn't need to be written. It's just like an argument happens.
I mean, our best jokes have been just like, you know, we have an idea, we try it, and then we just try other things.
Right.
And it gets better.
Some of the best jokes have come from that, where it's like there's a void here, and we fill it with something that didn't exist 20 minutes ago, and it ends up being one of the most funny, popular things. But so how do we allow for that while clamping down on the like how does this end? Yeah. You know, just those kind of scenarios. That's like the best and worst cases of those examples. So I don't know, a little adaptation methinks is in the works. Okay. I feel good about this.
Yeah.
Sure. You feel like hope you guys
and I kind of just mean I like the idea of doing smaller things and just feeding it to Patreon only, but I also kind of feel like we need to have the mentality. I mean, we haven't done anything in a year, but like kind of like what Always Sunny does, where it's like they never say like, oh, season 18's coming out next. Like they're just like, we'll make it. We're not finished with Always Sunny, but they don't know when they're gonna make it again. It's like they kind of just like go at their own pace.
I mean, I think that's going to come down to finding what feels good
Right.
to us.
Well, plus a lot of
Whatever
it,
our
like,
style
I mean,
is.
like a lot of it is very self-inflicted. Like from the beginning, like we pretty much agreed to have little to no social media present. Just
Yeah.
like, we're just like, we're not really going to interact with like,
Yeah, and so-
that was like our chosen path.
This is about as far from that as we could have. And so it's just kind of like, let's throw everything up and make sure it falls where we want
Right.
it to fall again. Let's re-examine this. Let's re-examine this project, this art project,
Yeah.
and tweak what needs to tweak. Because at the end of the day, it all comes back to, I feel like there's people who want this. There is an audience for it, and we like it. If at the we like our output, we're upset it's not that frequent.
Yeah.
It's like we like this stuff. Probably no one watches our shit as much as we do. Like we rewatch that stuff all the time. So how do we do something where everyone's happy? How do we make everyone happy? Because right now it's like there's a lot of unhappy people, kind of including us. And so how do we make something better for the fans, better for us? So, all right, we are recommitting to the vision.
Version 2.0.
We're going to kick this up to the top brass and see what they think. But anyways, if you made it to if we launched,
Or if you have any suggestions.
yeah, I mean, that's also why I did this is one, just like, here's what it is. This is what it feels like. But also like, what would what feels good to you? What do you want? Surely no one thinks about this as much as we do.
No.
But like if you listen to this podcast only, like the way to comment is through YouTube. So like jump on the YouTube video
Or shoot us an email.
or email us carbros2000 at gmail.com. Yeah. We're all ears. We don't necessarily take all advice, but we read everything and we consider everything. So anyways, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed, I guess.
Hope you kind of hearty laugh.
Yeah. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you.